in the heat of the night on KPLR 11.2. You're now watching a local radio broadcast of the Big 550, KTRS. You can also watch us at stltoday.com. You can watch us at ktrs.com. Any device, any tablet you have, you can certainly watch us. Also, ktrs.com. Download our app to your smartphone, or you can listen to us the old-fashioned way, 550 on your AM dial. The heroin commercial in the Super Bowl got a lot of attention locally as well as nationally. Jessica Bach with us from the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, who has written a couple of stories on it. Good morning, Jessica. Thanks for joining us here in studio.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So your story in the Post about the young people who are now coming up addicted to heroin is really, really scary. I don't even think we still understand how bad of an addiction problem we have in this region.
Right. My story looked at fatal overdoses, and there are far more just regular overdoses happening. Fortunately, people aren't dying, but it's a huge problem, and I don't think we've even touched on.
Yeah. How the people you talk to, some pretty staggering numbers in terms of young people getting addicted to heroin.
Yes, that's right. In particular, what really spurred us on the story was hearing about 2 deaths within 13 months at Kirkwood High School. And you think Kirkwood High School, that's pretty much the perfect example of it can't happen here. And it was happening there. And people weren't talking about it. It was rumors, but really it wasn't out there. And we felt like this was a good opportunity to really.
Which is so interesting because your story sort of, my first reaction, God forbid, would be, I don't want to let anyone know somebody I know, my son, my brother, my sister died of heroin. But on the same side, in that Super Bowl commercial, Lafayette let them use their school to tell the story.
Yeah, and I think that's a huge example, too, of how 5 years ago, 7 years ago, that never would have happened. The last thing, there was a quote in the story, the last thing any school wanted to be known as was heroin high. But it's affected so many people now. It's touched so many different lives. Now schools are saying we have to become a part of the awareness and help address this.
All the two you talk about from Webster have a very similar story to everyone you hear who gets addicted to heroin.
Right. And I think what was really eye-opening for me and something they're trying to drive home to parents is the whole pain pill. You're leaving prescription pain pills in your medicine cabinet, and little do you know, that gives you the same high as heroin.
Right.
And heroin is a lot easier to get.
Yeah, it's a medical grade heroin in your medicine cabinet.
Yeah.
And if it's a wisdom tooth, right? Somebody gets a wisdom tooth pulled, they give you prescription pain pills, all of a sudden you get addicted. If it's a broken arm, a broken wrist, whatever it may be, somebody's at a party. When we were talking earlier, in college or in high school, you'd be at a party and somebody would hand around a joint. Well, now they're handing around a pill that's heroin. Mm-hmm. That's a different world.
And sometimes, really, the kids won't even know that.
Right.
Yeah. So then suddenly, and you become addicted so quickly. So I think that's why it's really scary. And they're trying to drive home the message. Really think about what people are passing around at a party and don't even try it once.
Yeah. No, I don't even, you could drop it in somebody's drink or whatever else. But I mean, the peer pressure, the this and that, it's really scary. Jessica Bach with us, Post-Dispatch. We're also hearing that young women are the fastest group being affected by heroin. Mm-hmm. Did you hear that too?
Mm-hmm. Yep. One of the speakers with Clayton Behavioral, who is doing this new program, a free program for high schools, is an addiction counselor. He's also a former addict. And he said the thing he told the girls was, look, I see you. I know you want to know why does your boyfriend like this so much? So they want to try it. Why does he love that drug more than me?
Right.
And I think there's also a lot of emotional issues happening with a lot of these kids too. A lot of the families I talked to, they were dealing with the death of a parent who was an addict themselves, and so kids don't know how to deal with their emotions, and they're turning to these drugs.
Whereas years ago, they turned to marijuana, mm-hmm. or they turned to drinking, and that has its own issues. But you aren't. If you start smoking marijuana, you don't become addicted, and you don't start selling your whole life away for your next marijuana high.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The other one, I was talking to somebody yesterday who's involved with this, and I asked him about this female connection, and he said the men are already there. So there's no more growing of the men because it is already a full-blown epidemic. But these women are now starting to catch up.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Where do we go from here? I mean, this is not going away anytime soon.
Well, I think like I said, the number one thing, they really want parents to look at what's in their medicine cabinet and dispose of those unused medications properly. Police departments have drop boxes.
Right.
Don't
put them down the toilet.
Don't put them down the toilet.
Right.
I think you can even take them to some pharmacies and they'll get rid of them too. So that's one thing they're really trying to do. And legislatively, a lot of the advocates I talk to, they're really trying to push this prescription drug monitoring database.
Right.
Missouri is the only state that doesn't have that.
49 other states. A lot of people say that's not a fix-all, but it'll at least be a step in the right direction.
Right. So they're really trying to think that will cut down on abuse. And the research says that 4 out of 5 heroin addicts started with pain pills.
4 out of 5. Wow. So, and I know from firsthand experience is that the doctors, all they want to do is give you pain pills.
Right. It's so true. I was telling Tony Messenger in our office a story after he wrote that column about his experience with receiving lots of prescriptions for his cancer. And after I had my kids and came home from a C-section, I remember looking at the bottle and being like, there are 60 Vicodin in here. Do I really need 60 Vicodin? It's kind of shocking.
I left the hospital with my surgery and I said, I do not want any prescription pain pills. And they hand me a bunch of prescriptions I couldn't read. I go to the pharmacy, they bring, and I got a whole bottle full of this stuff. I was like, stop giving this to me. I don't want it.
Right. And even when you say no, and even when you don't ask, it feels like it's pretty readily available. And a lot of people just kind of leave that in their cabinets. And, your kids are having friends over. They're looking for these things.
Yeah.
That's what, these advocates are trying to make aware is that kids are looking for this stuff. They know they can sell it.
Scary stuff. San Luis Post-Dispatch writer Jessica Bach with a really sad but poignant and important story about heroin and how high school kids are dying and what can be done about it. Jessica, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You got it. It's 9:16 here, Big 550 KTRS. Let me talk to you about your ear, nose, and throat problems, because if you have an ear, nose, and throat problem, I have a solution for you. Dr. Karen Boone. She's with Metro Sinus, 636.